Thank you everyone for staying tuned with us. We now come to our last session for today. I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Wan Haslina Wan Abdul Halim, who is the president of this 24th Medical and Health Research Week, to introduce our last speaker for today. Prof. Wan, the floor is now yours.
Thank you, Professor Wong Yingping. First, I would like to welcome everybody to the session. This is the last module for the Research Week. And I would also like to wish a warm welcome to our speaker today, Professor Emerita Datuk, Dr. Asma Ismail. Allow me to first introduce our speaker today. Professor Emerita Datuk, Dr. Asma Ismail is a woman of many firsts. Besides being the first female Vice Chancellor of University Science Islam Malaysia and University Science Malaysia, she's also the country's first female Director General of Higher Education, first female President of Academy of Sciences Malaysia, and the first female to be Chairperson of the Malaysian Quality Agency, MQA. The current position is as the Ibn Sina Chair for Medicine at the International Islamic University in Malaysia. I've had the honor of meeting Prof. Asma personally last year during one of our young academician program by UKM in Malacca. So Prof. Emerita Datuk Dr. Asma Ismail has a Bachelor of Science in Biology from the University of Nevada, Reno, USA, and the Masters in Microbiology from Indiana University, USA. And further, she has a PhD in Cellular and Molecular Biology from the University of Nevada, Reno, the same university of her bachelor degree. She also received her honorary Doctor of Science from the University of Glasgow, University of Kiel University, and also Kyoto University of Foreign Studies. She was conferred Professor Emerita status by University Science Malaysia in December 2021, last year, and awarded Tokoh Akademik Negara, National Academic Laureate, the most national award, the most highest national award to an academic in March 2022 this year. She was elected to the Academy of Science Malaysia in 2003, the Academy of Sciences for Developing World in 2010, and the Islamic World Academy of Sciences in 2016, and was elected as honorary member of the Iranian Academy of Medical Sciences in 2017. It is indeed an honor to introduce her today. Further, I just would like to add that her passion for higher education and science development ecosystem had gained international recognition as well. And she was elected as a member of several international boards, including the Board of Governors for Commonwealth of Learning, which is based in Vancouver, Canada, as well as a member of the Directing Board and Executive Committee, the Islamic Citation Center based in Shiraz, Iran, for the OIC. A member of the College of Fellows, Keele University, UK, as also a governing advisory board member for Ritsumeikan Asia Pacific University, Japan. So we know, I think there is no better person for us to talk about our topic for today, which is establishing research network and establishing and also forging research network rather than our speaker today. Therefore, I would like to offer the floor to Prof. Asma to start her lecture.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera. And a very good morning to everyone on the virtual space. And thank you so much, Dr. Wan, for the kind introduction. Let me try to share the slides for today. And then see how we go. Boleh nampak ke? Please let me know if you can see the slide, Dr. Wan. Nampak? Okay. All right. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you to UKM Medical Faculty for inviting me once again to share my thoughts on this time around establishing and forging research network. So let's see what I can do with this topic today. And what I will be covering will be the global outlook. Where is the future for Malaysia post-COVID-19? I think we all need to know about that a little bit, and where are we heading for Malaysia and where's the future of research, and why the need for collaboration and networking, and then how to do the how, because everybody can say, oh, okay, yeah, we need collaboration, we need networking, but essentially nobody actually teach us how to do the how. So that's probably what I would like to share this morning. And also, first of all, also thank you, Dr. Wong, for inviting me for this topic. So let me start by saying that the world today is chaotic and is changing at an incredible speed, and is changing due to factors including digital age, the climate change, the disruptive technologies, the conflicts, and the pandemics. And the state of the world has created a disruptive change in our lives and livelihood, and now we are faced with the new normal, and it's going to be here to stay, basically. And the size and the complexity of the local and global challenges will require us to be a change maker and face change in order to stay relevant, and therefore agile response to change becomes imperative. And in today's era, we are talking about predictable unpredictability, facing many unknowns and many uncertainties in the future. And the future, I think all this while we've been talking about VUCA, but now we are no longer about VUCA. Post-COVID is now about BANI. There's another new term. I'm sure some of you may not have known about this, but because of what's happening, we are now more brittle. Still, there's ambiguity. Non-linear, that means cause and effect, as you see, is not just linear in creating the problem that we are facing. And there's going to be lots and lots and lots of data coming in from the sensors, from all the things that we are doing with IoT and whatnot. And at the end of the day, some of this data can become incomprehensible as well because of the merger between humans and machines, and the fact that we may not have the kind of data sorters and data analysts interpret some of this data that's now coming in by the millions per second. So to embrace uncertainty, our challenge is to prepare the future generation, the graduate students, and the postdocs with skills and competencies for jobs that do not exist, solving research problems not yet identified, and using technologies not yet invented. So whatever that I learned before in the US may be irrelevant now, and even whatever you're teaching your postgraduate today may be irrelevant 2 years from now. So what is important is that you adaptable and must be agile because of this rapid change that's going to happen in between. And therefore, lifelong learning about new technologies, about what needs to be done, I think is a constant thing that we all need to do, right? And lessons learned from COVID-19 boldly states that science and technology alone is not going to be enough to solve the global health problems. So the 21st century now is about the era of convergence of knowledge. So whether you like it or not, you need to work in a multidisciplinary or transdisciplinary manner in terms of research that you're doing. And it has to be, therefore, networking now starts to come in as becoming very important. Collaboration is very important, and it's very strategic and systematic integration. Not just put people together, but the kind of solution that you're offering has now got to be in an integrated manner between science, technology, arts, and humanities, along with innovation, entrepreneurial, global mindset to meet all these challenges of the 21st century. And bottom line is that we all need to work together to provide the solutions. So notice, before we are talking about problem statement for all the postgraduates listening, or even for the young lecturers, and you are now writing for grants, before we are talking about problem statement, but now what is the solution? So basically no longer about problem-based, but more solution-based, because tomorrow is talking about impact. And problem-based, what's the difference? Very quickly, problem-based are usually desk job. That means you do a literature review, and from the literature review, you say, okay, what's wrong with the scenario? And you offer, therefore, your solution. But this time around, when you're solution-based, not problem-based, your solution-based means to say, yes, you have to do literature review, there must be knowledge on the topic, but you need now to engage with the quadruple helix in order to actually now design what exactly is the solution that the target client would want to have. So this, therefore, whatever that you now deliver will be able now to create impact because it is something that the target client would want to have rather than it's something you want to offer. So this is therefore the era of collaboration and the era of sharing information. I mean, there's no such thing as a trump card nowadays. Not everything that you keep in your pocket can be seen by everyone already nowadays. You know, you can't keep any secret because they can deep dive, they can hack, they can find out all sorts of information. And the more you put a lot about yourself in the Facebook, in the Twitter, in the LinkedIn and all that, what you call social media, the more the algorithm will be able to find you and actually profile you and actually personalize what you are about. So basically, all this data that you have should now be available via open access. Either your data now, if you want to have international grants, you have to show proof, especially when you want to get Horizon grant or European Union grant or even NIH grant nowadays. You have to be able to say, okay, I am sharing my data on open access. And if you can't show evidence of that, then you are not eligible to actually now apply for all these grants anymore. So bottom line, that's why Academy Science, we have MOSP, Malaysian Open Science Platform, that we place Professor Noor Saadah from UM to now be in charge of this, and MOSP is now running with the 5 research universities putting in their data, so including UKM. We have just signed to allow now all your data to now go in. So be open as much as you can and be closed as much as needed. So that is the concept of fair data. So among other lessons learned from research is the sharing of information includes our research work not only needs to be published in a peer review journal, okay, but also written in simpler manner to engage the public. This is something that I think, you know, a lot of us are actually still living in the world today. But you have to know that research grants makin lama makin menipis, yeah. So it's getting smaller and smaller, and that's because tomorrow is no longer about government giving you grants, but more about the industry giving you grants, philanthropists giving you grants, and therefore, if they are now giving you money for doing this kind of research, they would want data to be shared and basically to be able to tell public exactly what that research is all about. Because when you start to share data, you now are publishing in metadata, no longer publishing like a Q1, Q2. I think the future of research report by Elsevier did this to basically call all the brains in the world to come together just to make sure whether Elsevier is going to survive or not. The answer is no. In the future, it's no longer about Q1, Q2. It's now about metadata, the sharing of the data in the open access mode, and the future is about writing simple manner to be able to engage the public so the public understand what exactly you are doing. So if you understand this kind of future postgraduate today, I think is very important. Especially if you are now in the RU where you are sharing the metadata on open access. So only when you start to communicate in a simple manner to engage the public, then can there be understanding to actually elicit a whole societal approach in providing and implementing the solutions that you now offer in order to be able to create impact. And this includes the translation of published works that have been done into various languages to ensure inclusivity of the knowledge that is now generated. You see, it's a whole new ball game in terms of the future of research, and therefore we can no longer work in silos, and therefore there is a need now for the integration of knowledge from the various disciplines, and this is the interplay of the sciences and the non-sciences. I'm setting the scenario for you to understand where is the future and why networking and collaboration is now very, very important. And the research that you do can no longer stop at publication. It needs to now move across the entire value chain, and it has to be creating impact. And if you want to move across the value chain, you got to work with the industry, you got to work with the government agencies, you got to work with the case, again, networking, collaboration, even just to move research now becomes important. So to create impact, there's another learning point. To create impact is no longer about ROI, return of investment, is now also about ROV, return of values. That means, you know, the kind of work that you do, don't just simply look at ROI, because there's a lot of impact that is brought by ROV, and that you can see as lesson learned from COVID, because during COVID time, nobody gave a hoot about KPI. Everybody was working together to be able to have a whole nation and whole societal approach. People, researchers around the world are sharing information even without publishing it, so that they can now have people who are working on the vaccine can now come up with a vaccine against COVID. So you see intangibles, when push comes to shove, for the human being, at the end of the day, we go back to the intangibles, the values, right? So this is some learning points that you need to see. It's no longer about numbers. Numbers suddenly don't mean anything. KPI numbers suddenly don't mean anything. So therefore, research performed today has to move from fundamental to translational research to be able to benefit the community and to benefit the industry. So in short, the knowledge creation must be for public good. So post-COVID, therefore, is working in an integrated and collaborative ecosystem, and no longer in silos. And the solutions that we offer must now be whole government approach, and not so different ministry have their own way of doing things. It has to be now whole government approach and whole societal approach. And we need to actually work together now to solve the problem for humanity, and no longer about how each discipline can provide the solution. So in short, complex global issues, therefore, will require a collaborative ecosystem to actually connect the dots and provide the solutions that can create a sustainable change. And to do this, we need to move research across the value chain from fundamental to translational research with impact. And the solution that we now offer has got to be discussed in the quadruple helix, and the community, government agencies, and industry, all this must be engaged in the discussion and involved in the implementation. There's constant engagement and constant networking needs to be there. So, okay, that's the global outlook. Let's come down now to the national landscape. What's happening in the country, right? We have gone from agriculture-based economy to manufacturing to innovation-led, and now we are moving to humanizing economy age. And when we talk about humanizing, this is now just like we are talking about humanizing education 4.0, which is what KPT had launched for higher education. We're also now talking about humanizing economy as far as economy is concerned, where now it is no longer technology-centric, but rather people-centric, right? So this is something that we all need to be wary about, where wisdom, collaboration, and values now play a very important role. So it is therefore imperative for future-ready Malaysia, as we now educate our talent, where our talent is heading, right? We're going now from very material-based to now knowledge-based, from a production-based economy to now an innovation-driven economy. And before, when we talk about numbers, with KPI, we're talking about output, but now with KIP, key intangible performance or return of values, we now talk about impact, right? So research is also going now from just simply output, how many Q1, how many Q2, how many conference, how many whatever, to now at the end of the day, did you make a difference? Okay, so with the research that you have done. So instead of talking now about survival, we are now talking about resilience, because it's not just about surviving. How can now be attacked again by future challenges, we'll still be able to stand tall. So that is resilience. And the talents that we have by just saying, capability, capacity building. Now we want not just capacity building, but we want the talent to become change makers. And before, if most of the time, we are working in silos. I mean, even in the School of Medical Faculty, we have many departments, and each department is also working in silo, and within each department pun working in silo juga. So, now we have to now start working in a collaborative ecosystem between the school medicine and the engineering and whatever else. And if we're going for individuals, we are now going to networking. And if you work at own pace, we are now going to immediate response, because we need agile response now. And from reactive to become proactive, from punitive to become preventive, and from whatever we do because we are obligated to now values driven. So the future of Malaysia, as we now see with our Foresight 2050 done by the Academy, we are actually moving towards a harmonious, a prosperous, a progressive, and sustainable Malaysia. Right? So if that is the case, then the key lessons from COVID-19 must be seen from the social and spiritual angle as well, because the pandemic has had an enormous impact on people and societies, not just physical, but material, mentally, spiritually. And therefore, these involve, especially those in medical decisions, everything about medical decision involve people, patients, people, family, people, professionals, the doctors, the nurses, etc. All may have seen many traumatic events, and all of these people, at the end of the day, you and me, we all have values. And when we talk about values, it's often based on our system alone is not enough. Science and technology is not enough. So we need health, social, spiritual, environmental care must be seen as a more integrated ecosystem. So to all the young lecturers and to the students listening, we are now working on an integrated ecosystem. So to combat this will require a whole government approach and whole societal approach. And we also need to take care of the environment, because if the lack of care of the environment and awareness will lead to more zoonotic diseases that will now have more of this being transferred. And therefore, again, what I'm trying to say is that as we move forward, we're going to be faced with more pandemic if we don't take care of this planet. So therefore, we need to collaborate. And we need to collaborate by making sure that humanist is the center, and we need to now work with all the solutions that we offer. It has to be nature-centric and also value-centric in order to create impact. So what it means that the future of research in Malaysia is to be able to do research and innovation in a responsible manner. So this is why we call RRI, Responsible Research and Innovation. And when we are doing that, the solution that we offer need to talk about planetary health as well. Is it sustainable? Especially when we are formulating research designs in the future. So what I want to stress upon, the key message is that STIE, Science, Technology, Innovation, Economy-driven solution for Malaysia's future society has got to be people-centric, nature-based, and values-driven. And what it means now is that this is why I want to set the scene to say the sharing of information and no longer in silo, but more of nation approach and societal approach. All these are imperative for Malaysia's future. So therefore, now we come to the topic of the conversation today. So why is networking important? I think I've set the scene to say that collaboration with local and international colleagues, I think now becomes very important, because as we now provide the solution, and we are supposed to be human-centric solution and not just technology-centric. So diversity is very important. You need, when you talk about human in the center, diversity is important. Inclusivity is important, because all this will bring in different perspectives and dimensions based on differences in culture, in faith, and in values. So therefore, it's not only important, the collaboration is important because it will make a good addition to your CV, but collaborating also has other advantages, especially when you collaborate with different countries, with different diversity and different social background and culture, because it will now, believe me, create for you an enriching. And you start to ask for their feedback, they will give you a fresh perspective on your research topic. And therefore, if you start to discuss your ideas together with this group, it will strengthen the arguments that underpin your thesis, your research, and actually clarify your supporting evidence. So many researchers believe that index is important to have a successful career. Betul. I'm not saying that that's not true. But what we are saying is that while these are indeed the main ingredient for success, but now, as I say, when we start to move forward in terms of the future of research, and collaboration and networking now is becoming increasingly important. And when you communicate with others, basically you enrich your work in many ways, and you can communicate with people at conferences, through cooperation, through discussions, and via, of course, social media. And this basically, when you start to communicate and have different, you know, not just from UKM, but actually when you start to talk to USM, to talk to UM and UPM and UTM and all the other universities, it will essentially allow you, plus also, don't forget, interacting with the IPTS, because it will allow you to have this exchange of thoughts with your peers, and you learn more about the views and on different subjects. And once you start to undergo collaboration and networking, you will end up having to learn, having to unlearn, and having to relearn new things. And at the end of the day, once you start undergoing learning, unlearning, and relearning, why not you sit down to co-create something fantastic, something viable? So having friendly relationship with other researchers can basically open the doors, manalah tahu, you know, for successful job interviews, research collaborations, and especially accessibility to specific facilities and infrastructure, especially if you're coming from a non-RU, perhaps where your facilities is not there, and you need to now be able to go into some deep tech work, and therefore you need to be attached to the universities that have all this infrastructure. But by doing this kind of networking, it will open up and allow your students to now undergo attachment in that particular lab that you would want to be there. So therefore, the sooner you start building a network, the better. You don't have to say, oh, I'm just a PhD student now, or I'm just doing a master. I don't have to create yet. I think you need to create like today. All right. So for, and especially if the lecturers who are listening in, for professorship application, being well connected and carrying out research in a cooperative partnership with industry, with multinational, actually give you the competitive edge. I will have to say this after evaluating many kenaikan pangkat. What we are saying is that if you now say, okay, you got a professor, that's Jusa C. But if you want to move to B and you want to move to A, what is now going to be your value add that you're going to now be able to contribute? This Q1, Q2 papers, okay lah, but enough is enough. You got already your professor. The next level that. So this is the kind of things where networking and collaboration now becomes a very important as part and parcel to explain how much of an international figure that you are, because that does make a difference to moving up from a JUSA C to B or an A. So of course, the next question you're going to ask is why do I need this network, right? Okay, it requires a little bit of reflection on your part, like where do you stand right now in your career, and basically what do you want to achieve, and what support might you need in order to do so. And again, you know, you want to go into a networking, you also must ask the question, what is it that you have to offer in return? I mean, you just can't go in there and actually now not show, not pull your weight, right? And when you start to this networking, it's not about old boys network. Yeah, old boys network means you know, old boys network like MCKK boys or, you know, MRSM boys or whatever. Of course, girls, TKC girls, that also make a difference. But we're not talking about that. That is like only network that is accessible to select few individuals. When we create network, is based on voluntary collaboration and principle of reciprocity needs to be there. So once you want to build this kind of network, networks are not created overnight. You got to build that, you know, and it will take time, and you need to be maintained and developed over a longer term. And when you are creating this network, it is the need to develop rapport, bonding. And when you start to do this kind of network, it has to be with sincerity. Habis cerita lah. People can tell, you know, that you just want something out of them, and at the end of the day, there's no they don't trust you. So basically, when there's lack of trust, being sincere about pulling your weight, then you can forget about it also. So if you now want to now start to build up conference dinners, receptions, coffee breaks, you know, usually these are the kind of things you don't want to attend, you know, it's like, but a lot of people who are ambitious probably would want to go for these conference dinners, but let's not wait for anyone who's just ambitious. I think that anyone who's going to build your career now have to start to go to these conference dinners and receptions and actually talk to people during coffee break. And you know, this is the kind of thing that you see. You gather again with your small group of friends during coffee break, and you all talk to each other, but the coffee break is meant for you to now go and see other people. That is the whole idea. And perhaps you're not doing that is because you're shy, or you're the kind that doesn't want to now meet up with people, but this has also got to change. And sometimes you get to meet a lot of people in a more friendly manner, and you can create better friendship. Post-conference tours, these are good places for you to approach new colleagues. And what I find, you know, sharing of taxis to go to the airport also create opportunity, because, you know, when you share the taxi, it's mono a mono, you are, you know, that, you know, make sure that you thank others every time when you are in the network. Don't forget to say thank you when you receive some help or information. So being polite, being reliable, being genuine, appreciation of all the people involved in the network, all these are very important factors. As you want to build the network, you know, don't focus only on the highest level of contact. This seems to be like, you know, a bee to to the flower, you know, like, okay, you have these important people, and at the end of the day, you just zoom to try to get to talk to these important people. So please value, don't focus only on the highest level contacts. Horizontal context with people of the same as you is just as valuable as the people who are the vertical context higher than you. So when you plan your network, consider your own qualification. And sometimes I will say don't aim too high lah, because if you're like a doctoral candidate, it's going to be very exhausting and futile to independently attempt to enter into or an icon in your field at a conference, because he will be surrounded, or she will be surrounded by so many others who are involved. And therefore you will be like, you're sitting there waiting for your time and standing there waiting for your time, and that's a waste. It's better for you to do the horizontal context with other PhD students and other postdocs and other young lecturers, because they are young today, but they're going to be somebody in the future. So it will open many doors, especially to lab facilities, and open up your mind on how others are progressing in research and how they're going about it. So to me, as I see it in the academia sciences at ASM, we have the Young Scientist Network. This is a scientist academic career in STI, who is less than 40 years old, 40. So and when they get together with the help from the fellows from the academy, you find that they get a lot of exposure very early on as to what it takes to make STI your career. Sometimes, let's be frank, even in your own university, you don't find mentors or sponsors in your university. You don't have, because sometimes your university may not be an RU, and you're not going to find the icons there that like you saw Idola or whatever. But the thing is, they may be outside of the university. So the gathering of the fellows with the help together, working together with the Young Scientist Network, the YSN, I think is a very enriched experience. And even the YSN together, when I have young academics from other universities, non-RU, when they come together, they now open their eyes, open their mind, to what is actually happening in the country, and what's the latest. So that opens the opportunity for them to do a lot more. Yeah. So need to work on your communicative and social skill, because networks, they function on mutual exchange. So your EQ kena tinggi lah sikit, ya, so that you are sensitive to body language. Sama orang suka you ke tak suka ke apa yang you bercakap ni. So basically be sensitive, body language, read the body language, and therefore develop communicative skill and learn to recognize subtle differences between the conversations. Make sure that whatever you're talking, is it going to be sensitive to others or what, and some people, like for you to flatter, and some people hate it because they know that it's not a good way to start the conversation. But whatever it is, you also need to talk a little bit about yourself, but not too much. But more important, when the big guns are talking, listen, because they are imparting some information that you probably would need, right? And of course, learning by doing, experiential learning, I think is the best. It will be very important, because you can be listening to me, you can be reading some books or whatever, but do it. Doing, as what Nike said, just do it. That is how you'll be able now to create opportunity, to create the contact, and actually be brave about doing this. So attend presentations, conferences, and colloquia. It's like this, I bukan apa dah, I cukup sakit mendengar mereka yang kata, oh, that topic, I know everything about that topic. Tak payahlah, I think I need to work on my lab lah better. Agahnya, di bahasa Kelantannya, agah. Maknanya you're very arrogant, that you think that whoever is a speaker can no longer enrich your mind regarding what needs to be there, can no longer enrich your knowledge. Basically, be humble, because knowledge always, when the more you know, the more it should humble you. So that's why, for me, I think when you are young, please, and there you ask the good questions and present clear, interesting papers, so that people also know what exactly are you thinking, right? And therefore, when you are young, please get involved in the bodies and associations at your department and at university. So in short, I would just want to say some do's and don'ts. Do ask the questions, do talk to the speakers, do show your interest in other people's work, because that is and seize every opportunity to tell others about your work as well. do have your own work ready to present. If they ask, oh, you have something, oh, can you show me? So at least you have that on your computer. Do have an opinion on the matter and do join the debate. This another thing. Hey, hello, I have worked on this so many years, I know everything about this, so don't make claims without evidence. This is something that I even for at academy, where we have our fellows average age 67, you can see that pada hemah saya, based on my experience, there's a lot, but data today may not be as you experienced before. Don't boast and don't overkill, because when you talk with data, and don't say like, I'm right, you're wrong, please be more diplomatic. And what I found was that it's like this, rather than say I'm right and you're wrong. So, and of course, do not patronize, right? So how to do the how? Okay, so I've already set the scene for you, why we need collaboration, networking, some of the things that you need to know about. The next question is how to do the how. I'm now finding out that if you give suggestions, it doesn't really quite work, because when you want to really do it, somebody need to guide you on how to do the how. Okay. Come back to you all know, I said many times, conferences is the best place for you to make connections and for you to meet other researchers in your field. So when you're doing that, when you're attending the conference, look for the meetings in your area and attend those meetings, and check out who are the keynote speakers and shortlist who you want to meet and the kind of questions you might want to ask. I mean, I was facing this when I went. So you have so many Nobel laureates to choose. So you got to choose a Nobel laureate that is going to talk on topics that is very relevant to you. But when you have the opportunity to talk to the Nobel laureate, you got to be prepared with the kind of question you want to ask, because at the end of the day, you don't want the Nobel laureate to think, oh, hello, what kind of question is that? So basically, you need to be prepared, because other people are also listening to the kind of question that you are going to ask to a Nobel laureate. But basically, at the end of the day, you need courage. Habis cerita lah. You need courage to speak with people you don't know. All right. And but the more you do it, the easier it's going to become. It's going to be, right? So always bring your the other thing, when you go and talk to people, bring your name card. There's no such thing, oh, I lupa lah my name card. As if people remember you. Come on. So bottom line, that's what I say. When you want to attend conference, be prepared. All these checklists kena ada dah. Name card, who you want to meet, what time, which, especially if a conference has got many tracks, which track do you want to go? All this homework needs to be done, and not just a conference because you want to you want to go out and do some shopping. So all these are preparations. So an easy way, conference, of course, to start a chat, to ask people questions about their work. And most academics usually enjoy talking about what they're doing, and if you will feel comfortable on the subject. And this usually works rather than talking about the weather, right? And this shows that you are interested, and which is very good as an opener. But when you go to the conference, right, paper, because a lot of the times you can be very quiet, but the day you present and your ideas are so good, people will just want to come and talk to you, and that's how you create the networking and collaboration. So because it becomes, when you present and people listen to what you have to say, so that idea itself becomes the opening act, to break the ice when having conversation, and becomes a way for the collaborator to actually gain respect for your work. And besides conferences, there are other ways that you can build this solid network. You can also attend courses and events and join organizations on discussion on different subjects. And you may also establish contacts, because you just met this guy and he's working on this. And when you go back, you keep that name card because you want to be able to contact the guy by email or social media. So taking the first step to start a new research collaboration, I think is an excellent way to introduce yourself to other academics and let them know about your work and interests. what I'm trying to say to you is that if, like for me, I usually attend the typhoid conference. So if you consistently attend the conferences that is within your domain or expertise, you will find similar people around. And the more times you attend, for me, the more times I attend the typhoid conferences, I was giving talk, other people was giving talk, the more I start to build and strengthen the network with typhoid group, so that this is where you now start to create new friends, start to establish a rapport with old friends, and within this typhoid conference, you share bus transport from the hotel to the conference. I tell you, that is a very good way. So every day I will change partner. Who do I sit with? Because it makes a lot of difference, to have small talks and whatnot, but it builds up into a longer, more lasting relationship, and you give it an opportunity to get to know people better. So that's one. The other one is be open, friendly, and confident, because networking involves meeting people and exchanging ideas with the aim of making a good impression. When you are communicating, it's important to understand their needs, be friendly, be open, and be able to listen to them carefully. You should speak about yourself because your peers also need to know what exactly you're doing, and showing a genuine interest in the other person. Avoiding arrogant behavior can help you a long way. But when you are talking, right, the goal is to make other academics see you also as a colleague, not as a fan. A lot of the times say, oh, Prof, you are my idola. I mean, this is the kind of language I usually get. But at the end of the day, I don't know much about you, and therefore I can't help you if I don't know much about what you're doing. So it's important that when you go in, that even people, for me, when you are introducing yourself to me, I would not also need to know, at the end of the day, see you as my colleague. Because as I say, even my graduate students, I see them as my colleague, because there's as much as they learn from me, I learn a lot from them as well. So, so to achieve this, so it's important that you show respect without showing reverence. And most people will not connect with, because if you say you are just here to be able to be a passive one, you just want every information from you, and most people will also not connect with someone they consider to be significantly inferior to them. So you must always keep a good portion of self-confidence when communicating, so that people also know and people also respect. We can now work together. So remember that an effective network does not happen overnight. It will take a lot of dedication to create one. And when you want to start something, collaborating, reach out to the authors when you're reading papers. Don't be afraid to reach out to the corresponding author, ask him questions that, so that you can have further discussion. But also another one is to volunteer. ASM, when we are doing all the policy papers, we do a lot of stakeholder engagement. So what we do with the stakeholder engagement of the quadruple helix, we put the YSN group as the one who help to do the report, to do the organizing, because once they are part of the technical committee, you have the opportunity to actually listen to the fellows or the brains in the country together with the stakeholder engagement, and you learn a lot when you are given this opportunity. So that's why sometimes you say, oh, I want to be a member. No, you can become the slave first, and the repertoire and whatnot, so that you start to pick up and you start to learn. So because it's through these committees, you may discover opportunities to co-author white papers with the committee members, and actually now widen your professional network and contribute to your publishing record. Because when you start to publish with icons like this in the technical committee, you walaupun nama tu your name can be somewhere in the center, but it starts to build up your publication and your CV. So if you have the opportunity to do so during your PhD or postdoc, or even when you are a young academic, please volunteer yourself to be a member of the technical committee, even if you serve as a rapporteur or someone who write things together, because the one who write things together, all the icons will come to you because they will now be able to share the information and you get a first hand. And this is how I think most of the YSN, they build their career also by getting to know the fellows, because the fellows can open many doors for them. So that is one aspect. The other one is to do an exchange program or attachment so that you get to know a lot more people. And for those, build a lasting bridge of networking communication, send your graduate students to your colleagues network lab, etc. Let's say you send your graduate students to Japan or attachment, yeah. So when you start to do that, building lasting bridge of relationship, you know, sometimes you dah balik daripada university and you want to have relationship, continue the collaboration with your graduate students for attachment, etc., with the professor's lab. So that way you are building that relationship. You know why? Because this constant contact, that's why I said building networking is not something you do overnight. It's something that you put labor in, you put time in, and it will reap you your benefits, because the constant contact will make you invaluable for future projects and joint publications. And if they say, oh yeah, European Union, we need someone from Malaysia, automatically your name is on the list, right? And you get millions after that. So this is a great way, because the European partners are the one who's writing the grants and you are the one receiving the grants. So this is a great way to get collaborative grants, especially from European Union, also especially with the Japanese grants, JICA and so on, StarTraps and so on. So the other one is, of course, to use the online tools. Another way is to create an international network of collaborators, of course, to start to use the social media. I think the young people, they will know how to go about this with Twitter, with LinkedIn and Facebook, especially LinkedIn. And you can use this to communicate with the peer experts, the track research related to your work, and support or follow the impact of your publication. And even if you do not want to post yourself, you can still use the social media tools to actually stay up to date with what are the recent advances in your field and find out what the others are doing. All these digital tools also keep you in track. Like I said, sometimes in the conferences, meeting people is one thing, but staying in touch, this requires discipline and organization and dedication to ensure that work develops. So you have to follow the, sometimes in the network, you have people, the progress of your fellow PhD colleagues, and send them congratulations note when they graduate. If you connect with LinkedIn and actively engage with the content, be sure to also compliment them when they get promotion or they get their job. So when I say require discipline, is because, you know, this is a two-way street. When the people are networking, a lot of the time you ask the question and your colleagues will answer the question for you. You know, simple things like solving some lab issues, some problems with pH, etc., or whatever results that you have. Networks can answer this quite fast because they are, you know, working in the field. But you also, when they ask you, you also need to answer your colleagues. This is a must, right? Answering emails without delay when, because when you have delay, it will show a lack of interest on your part. And you know, invite international colleagues to the thesis committees or your PhD as external examiners. If your student is ready to graduate, invite them, the external collaborators that you have in your network, to now become external examiner to your student, because after all, they are international. And you know, like for me, I'm working on typhoid, so I will get the people international to be now an evaluator, external examiner to the work by the students on the topic, because that their thesis, but it makes the thesis even better, because if that international guy, upon reading the thesis and find that the thesis is excellent, this will be the word of mouth punya puji-pujian that actually can open many doors, and even for postdoc opportunities, etc. So it will strengthen and showcase your own research as well with the international expert. And once you start to build this kind of network, to me, take a sabbatical. And usually sabbatical, you spend time in Malaysia. Tak payahlah, take this sabbatical and go and spend time in your colleague lab. And because your networking is very good, they may even offer you as postdoc fellow or visiting fellow position in the other university with your friends. But this sabbatical, 5 months, 9 months, actually great opportunity to sit down together with your colleagues in the network to actually now develop ideas, share your research finding, create new thinking, etc. Foundation of the collaborative relationship. And so by expanding your research network beyond your institution and around the world, you will create a rich and living academic career for yourself. And that's how you become now international icon. And it is through your professional contact that you're going to form lasting relationship that will see you through your career and beyond. So in short, what does all this have in terms of people who are working in health sciences and in medical sciences? Why collaboration and networking is very important? Because international collaboration is growing exponentially. And researchers from different institutions and countries work together as a consortium to actually focus around specific research questions. So having this international collaboration are valuable, offer interdisciplinary expertise and actually allow recruitment of patients in different settings. And I'm telling you, this is really great if you have already created some innovation for drugs or for vaccine, especially me in the area of diagnostic, is a great for clinical trials, for drug trials, and field trials for diagnostics or for vaccines. So establishing this research network and collaboration in a form of non-government, with NGO, with non-profit, voluntary participant, also provide the necessary flexibility to be able to adapt to a wide spectrum of arising challenges, especially for me, if I work on topics with typhoid, developing diagnostics, but for low resource settings, and this is where I would want to have the collaboration with countries that are low resource so that we can now understand better in the kind of technology that we need to develop so that it is not just high tech, but also high touch. So it enables shared learning, or you open your mind to a lot of new things, and perhaps then once you now exposed to this kind of environment, it will make you now even better in terms of being creative in how you provide the solution. And of course, new research opportunities, establish new projects, joint applications for funds and technology transfer is always there. So the collaboration, this is the other one, especially in medicine, when you start to do drug trials, clinical trials, and field trials, you may end up having 50 names on that paper, but the collaboration will definitely increase citation of research manuscript that you are. This is important for us, because the whatever you may say, big names get papers published in Q1, Q2, or mainly Q1. And actually your name are being attached to that help you also in delivering the kind of papers that you are publishing. But it gives you an opportunity to have papers published in all the major journals. Because you're working with an international iconic researcher. So if you have, bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, if we have a fragmented scientific community, very small research group, low in terms of funding, that is now probably describing our situation together today, collaboration therefore and networking is the way forward. Because I end by saying, by working together today, hopefully we can shape a more positive tomorrow. So with that, thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Prof. Asma. That's a very, how would say, enlightening, powerful, and I would say rich with all the tips and tricks that I think you have gathered along the way of your research journey from the beginning. And I think this topic is not only for those established researchers, but also for young researchers who are going to, start their journey in the academic world. I think, let me just start the question and answer session. I'm sure there are a lot more people who's going to start their question. Maybe I think Prof Yinping has a question for you first. Prof, you want to start? Yinping?
Yes, Prof Asma.
Yeah.
I actually have a question for you. I actually can't agree more with you that we researchers should not be working in silo, and we should start going out to approach others. But the problem is we may find face rejection, just like a grant application. That's why those established researcher want to collaborate with you. So how we can make ourselves more attractive to others so that they were willing, voluntarily wanted to agree to collaborate with us. Yes, that's my question.
Like I said, what did I say? Communication skills, very important. Your personality, your character, how you behave when you're seeing someone. It's all about rapport at the end of the day. It's not like everybody wants to collaborate. Tak semua orang lah. You say, oh, can I work with you? Oh, sure. No, not everyone is like that. Some people are very choosy. Some people are very picky. They want to see why you want to be able to collaborate with you. What's your end game? So that kind of stuff will also be running around in some of the icons in your head, right? So tak semua orang is open and want to collaborate. Some people also, even their icon, they prefer to work only with their research team because their research team understand what is needed, how they need to think, by having new people coming in is sort of disturb the balance, and they are on a speed about they kena produce results within this kind of milestone, so they're not willing to have a lot of disturbance lah. Okay, boleh macam tu juga. So as I said, you're going to face a lot of rejection, but you never know. You may hit jackpot. That's why I said, one way I've always say, this bus transport from hotel to the conference is a great way to break the ice, because sometimes they look like they are not approachable, but when you start to sit beside them and you start talking, and you just break the ice, and then you just be yourself, and when you start, there's a lot of laughter and whatnot. After that, that's it. That network is done. So smart way lah, how you want to approach people. Sometimes after the conference you gotta it's like bee to honey, right? Everybody just semut to gula lah. Everybody will just go. It's like, oh, it's fantastic. Your bagus juga, because people who are talking were like, for me, if I was giving a good talk, and people come to me and say, oh, this is excellent, I also feel good at the end of the day. Like you put in the time and people appreciate your work. Okay, that's fine. But for me to collaborate further dengan you, I kena dengar you dulu. That's why I kata that when I say I kena dengar you dulu, that means in the conference present the paper. And when you present the paper, that's when I know about your work better, and I know how you think and what make you tick, and that's I want to work with that guy. That's why I said that kalau pergi conference bakal duduk kat belakang, lepas tu makan ni, makan cucuk, whatever you're just gaining weight. Okay, so bottom line is that when you go to conference, you dah tahu, and that's why I pilih the track that I want to go, because I don't have much time. So I pilih the track and I want to hear this guy. And so I will tick, I will go in this time to hear this guy, and then go to the next track because I want to hear that guy. And then from there, I tengok what is it that I want and how I want to work. So dia kena homework Prof, you can about some homework and then see and then go from there. And then you can tell, from the personality, cara dia bercakap, whether dia ni jenis approachable atau forget it, if you try pun dia takkan ni. So macam tu lah, rejection you're going to face, but take it because it's going to be tak apa, it's okay, you're lost today, maybe somebody else will be a better one for you. You never know. Okay.
Thanks, Prof, for it. Very interesting, and I think again you share good tips there. So ingat semua orang jangan makan sahaja. So going to conference is not just about shopping and eating. So it's also about doing, the homework
especially going to
before.
international conference.
Yes, yes, yes.
About pergi shopping, and you find that the last day semua orang dah tak attend. The first day semua orang attend, the last day nobody is attending because people are going shopping and the person is talking to himself. Yeah.
Prof Wong, any other questions?
I'll pass back to you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I have few questions here in the Q&A. So I'll read the shorter one first. So what are the barriers of challenges that you have experienced, Prof, in establishing your research network and forging new ones? Anything that from your experience that was very challenging, and how do you overcome it?
You tanya I've sometimes this question, I'm like an outlier though. In my mind, I tak pernah lagi face. I tak pernah face barrier lah. That's put that way.
Because maybe I think because you have the correct, how would I say, approach to things, maybe the way that you say just now.
Maybe lah.
Yeah, it first starts with your introduction and the way you carry yourself and how you carry your research. That actually makes people
dia
interested.
macam ni tau. For me kan, I'm also not the kind who's brave to go and talk to somebody just like that, you know. I say to myself lah, okay, when I go in, let me speak, because after I speak, then people hear my thinking. You know, especially when you go to a huge typhoid conference and Malaysia, the Malaysian scientists producing diagnostic apa ni? I mean, kami lagi hebat, right? So they will have that kind of attitude, right? So I always say, allow me to speak. If I speak, then people will come and start talking. So that has been my principle. I tak approach orang dulu. I speak dulu. Lepas I speak, then people say, yeah, I heard about your paper and this and that. And then that's opening act, for us to further and develop. And what do you have in your lab? And I just continue lah. Nampak tak? So that's why I always say, I tak suka jadi passenger, I tak suka jadi observer. So when I go to a conference, I actually am a speaker, either plenary ke, kalau keynote lagi lah kan, dah tua-tua macam ni orang bagi keynote je. But when I'm young, I usually am a speaker. I go in because I want the opportunity to be able to share my thoughts. And then paling kurang pun I will get people yang sama level. That's why I say horizontal context kan. Jangan duk fikir orang atas saja, fikir horizontal. Sebab today they are researcher like you, but tomorrow they are going to be somebody big. But you build that relationship from today. Like when you are in Harvard, right? Harvard Business School. All the PhD from Harvard Business School one day will become multi-billionaires. But you invest in them as you know them in the horizontal, esok lusa dia dah graduate, dia jadi multi-billionaire, you just pick up your phone and say, hello guy, can we connect? Terus business dah jalan, right? That's the whole idea. For me also, in fact, bagi I prefer horizontal because horizontal is investment. Horizontal tu maknanya tengok cermin-cermin diri sendiri lah. Kalau saya masih postgraduate, I prefer to work with the horizontal because I will nampak macam mana dia orang berfikir, macam mana lab dia orang, then if I need a lab, esok lusa bila saya dah jadi professor sekarang, one phone call from me, I will send my student over, right? So that makes a lot of difference to open up the lab. Sebab kita kenal. Jadi dalam academic science lagi lah pula, siapa yang tak kenal, kalau jadi dah presiden, memang semua kenal presiden tak kenal. But bottom line is that, you get to hear a lot of people and for me, horizontal dulu. Before I go vertical. Vertical ni what can you say? You baru PhD and then you nak jadi besar macam mana? The icon akan bercakap dengan icon aja. And you notice when you go to conference, where do they put the icon? In the VVIP table, right? Bila you nak bercakap dengan dia orang? For sure.
Lepas talk barulah pergi cari dia orang. Tapi dia orang dah pergi makan lah.
And all the organizers like Dr. Wong will always take care. People like you also will take care of the speaker. Oh yeah, please please come have your tea. Dalam kepala I kata, kalau next time I go to UKM, if we ever have a face-to-face, allow me to sit, Dr. Wong, with the other people for my tea rather than the conference organizer.
Yes, of course. Rather than, running here and there, wasting the opportunity to talk to all the distinguished lecturers, we asked the academician to sit down with the distinguished guests to, maybe forging new network.
Yeah,
And,
betul. In fact,
yes.
that's what we had at Lindau when with the Nobel laureate. Every major has a Nobel laureate. So you register lah nak duduk dengan Nobel laureate mana. But they give you the opportunity. They never put the Nobel laureate in the VVIP table. Every Nobel laureate, the head is every table, the head is a Nobel laureate. Nampak tak? So it gives you opportunity. So I think Prof Wong, this is somehow kita kena learn lah in our cara kita, sebab Malaysia ni hospitality bagai nak gila, and so memanglah the conference organizer will make sure that you are taken care
well
of,
fed and well seated.
Yes.
But we also need to also invest, Prof. So I really very taken with the saying that you were saying, return of value versus return of investment, because I think if we aim for return of value, the ROI will be taken care by itself. Do you agree with that, Prof? Yeah. So looking back to our question, I think we have exceeded the time, but it's very interesting talk again. But if I may ask you the last question from the audience, in the morning, Prof Lee Yong Ye shared on tips of writing winning research grants. If you care, Prof, please, if you may have maybe your top 10 tips or 5 top tips on the area.
Winning apa ni?
Winning research grant.
I pun tak tahu what Prof Lee. Prof Lee, of course, from USM, right?
Yes, yeah. So, one of your academic
also my
science
student before, I think whatever he has to say is already sufficient. Sebab nak dapat grant sekarang is different from nak dapat grant dulu. Alright, so that's why I think you need to hear from grant sekarang. So grant sekarang is based on impact. So and kalau macam Malaysia's Grand Challenge, the Strategic Research Fund, if you don't show collaboration with quadruple helix, memang for sure tak dapat lah. So sekarang ni everything is about impact now for moving forward. And sekarang ni is about 10-10 my SDIE. So that's why kalau grant, even FRGS pun dia kena tanya, how is this related to 10-10 my SDIE, right? The one that is voted by academic science. So which is now part and parcel of changing the research landscape of the country. So what I'm trying to say is that the more you know how technologies are put together in creating the kind of impact and working together with collaboration, ni semua has to be that way now. And sekarang ni, I mean, sorry lah, you all tak selalunya you tanya kan macam mana nak tulis. No, when you call me, it's always about leadership, but you don't ask me about research. So next time call me about research.
Yes, of course. We will of course extend our invitation to bring you back again about research. Maybe we'll talk to Prof Tan after this, with Timbalan Dekan to bring you back. So firstly, I would like to thank you, Prof Asma, for spending your precious time with us. I think we learned a lot during this talk and session. I would like to also extend my thanks to Prof Tan and also the Dean for our 24th Medical Research Week this time. And it is indeed an honor to have Prof Asma with us today. I would also like to extend my thanks to all the committee members here who've worked very hard. And we are looking forward to our 25th Medical Research Week next year, which is our Silver Jubilee. And indeed, we expect to again invite you, Prof, so to give us more pearls on research. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Prof, for the attendance today. Thank you very much to all the listeners and all the participants. I hope you gain insightful information and also good lessons for your research life or research journey. Thank you, everybody. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and everybody. Bye.
Bye.